Staying with mining, South African mining companies are reportedly planning to build a plant generating 609 megawatts of electricity. The companies are said to have official approval for the projects. They're mainly solar projects, so would generate power for the minerals, or rather for the miners themselves. For more on this, I'm now joined in studio by Wido Schnabel, chairman of the South African Photovoltaic Industry Association. Wido, it's good to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
First and foremost, what is photovoltaic solar energy as compared to other solar energy?
Sure. So the photovoltaic means that we take sunshine or light. It doesn't have to be sunshine, by the way. It is light, and convert it into electrons. So the panel converts that into electrons, and those electrons we harvest and push into the grid or into a battery, or we shine the lights or run the cameras in the studio.
Yeah. And why is this the best option for mining companies?
It is one of the options. In South Africa and elsewhere in the world, we always talk about an energy mix. So we have got multiple different kind of energy generators. And solar PV is one of it, because we in Africa all over have got abundant sunlight. Yeah. We've got one of the best resources in the world. I think Chile is slightly better than us. But that in itself already speaks for South Africa and Africa in itself to use that resource. We're talking about mining, and if you talk to mining companies, they always want to dig a hole into the ground. Yeah. But actually, the biggest resource is up there in the sky. They should mine that one. And I like this, that they're now approaching the resource sun to put it into the energy.
Right, so I believe some of the mining companies, for example, like Sibanye Gold, up until this point, have been able to do that, but they've got approval for only 50 megawatt module, and now they want to add at least another 150 megawatt to that. I mean, 609 megawatts itself, how much electricity is that in terms of how long it can run, and how many companies or mining companies it would supply?
So we have to understand about capacity. That is a megawatt plant that has got that capacity, and we have to talk about energy. And that's the product that comes out at the end of the day, that basically lights the light bulbs. So in terms of the energy that comes out of that, we have got enough to run with a 100 megawatt plant. You can run about 40,000 homes with energy. Now, in terms of our energy production in solar PV, that works from sunrise to sunset. Yes. And that's also why we are for an energy mix. So, for example, wind sets in from midday or afternoon in the late evenings into the night. And that combination of different energy sources, storage, will play that role. And because PV is so cheap these days. Yeah. Just to give you an example, the worldwide average on solar PV on the kilowatt hour is 2 US cents. So we're talking far below the current Eskom prices in terms of a kilowatt hour. Now, storage is always an expensive exercise, was always. That's why we had base load. So you had basically base load, and that would cover you through day and night. But these days you are looking for dispatchable energy. So you need to have energy when and if it is needed, and not just base load running 24/7. You really want to make sure that you only produce as much as you currently need. Now, storage prices worldwide are sitting at the moment at an average of about 9 cents. That are the values of 2019. Now, the forecast shows that in 2 years, in 2022, solar prices will even drop below 2 cents on average.
Yeah.
And battery prices will drop to 6 cents. So there's a big jump in terms of prices coming down. The reason why battery prices are currently expensive or at a little bit higher is because it's not only us, the energy sector, that's looking for storage, but also the automotive industry is looking for the electric cars.
And even the cellular companies are also looking for stored power.
So combined with a 4-hour storage, we have got basically a price of 5.5 US cents per kilowatt hour average in the world.
But tell me this though, Business Society says large businesses can get relief by going the PV route, but as long as they have 25 million rands lying around, is that how much it will cost to set up?
So, yes, it costs money to build a power plant, that is true. But at the end of the day, if you look at the levelized cost of electricity, then it's a very cheap investment because those plants run for many years. So the IPP office or the projects we've got now on the renewable program have got a 20-year PPA, a contract with Eskom where they can supply power. But, for example, the manufacturers of solar modules guarantee production up to 25 and 30 years. So, and even after 30 years, they don't stop the next day. Right. They keep on running. They degrade just slightly more over those years. So a power plant after 20 years is paid off, and it's going to produce for only the O&M. Right. So the operation and maintenance of that plant. And what is that? That is very little. You have to maintain the inverters, and then you need somebody with a squeaky that cleans the panels every day. So it's a very low-cost energy after the investment is being paid off.
And it's quite durable, I mean, with the heavy weather that we have been experiencing. But talk to me about why it takes so long to get approval. I think it's a 9-month period to get the license from NERSA just for 10 megawatts, right?
Thabo, I wish I had that answer. Why? That is exactly the question we have. Why does it have to take so long? So my explanation for this is the projects below 1 megawatt are don't have to have a license. But everything above 1 megawatt needs to have a license. Now that license regime was designed and built for big power plants like we would use to do like Medupi and Kusile. So big power plants, 3 gigawatt plants.
Right.
But if we build a 50 megawatt solar plant, you don't need the same kind of licensing. Yeah. So, and then on top of that, these mining companies want to use that power themselves. Yes. It's not, in essence, just to produce it and it's there for everybody to take. They have got that need. So basically, it's for their own consumption. So it will not interfere too much with the grid and Eskom's, other than Eskom not selling to them if they can.
Well, I mean, look, quite honestly, they've installed capacity of 45,000 megawatts. They're only producing 25,000. They're struggling. This would probably also be assisting them in a way to relieve that pressure.
And that is exactly our call. Our call is, why don't we open this up? If private sector is available and want to spend money at them, let them go for it. There's basically a need currently. We see that on the unplanned outages on Eskom, there's a number between 11 gigawatts to 14, 15 gigawatts on a daily basis. I believe out of that, not everything will come back. Yes. At all.
Sure.
So we're talking in the IRP, the Integrated Resource Plan, about a gap of 2, and now we were talking about 2 to 3 gigawatts that we've got the energy gap currently. But I think it's much more if this doesn't come back. Now, the sad thing about the whole thing is that the economy has reacted to it, or is actually not there. And that's the sad thing. We're losing jobs, we're losing businesses because there is not certainty about energy. Well, you can't start a business if there's load shedding.
To these IPPs, we are going to lose more jobs. I mean, what are the jobs that we create? What are the job opportunities here?
Yes, they are great. And I just want to take an example here, and there's the myth about jobs being lost in the coal industry. And there's been a study done by Professor Tobias Bischoff-Nims, and he took South African environment, solar and wind, and coal. So now again, I said earlier, we need to talk about capacity and energy. So let's talk about the output, which is 100 terawatt hours of energy produced. For that, you need 2 gigawatts of solar PV and wind, so 1, and you need 500 megawatts of coal to create 100 terawatt hours of energy. Now, if you build 2 gigawatts of solar and wind, you need about 38,000 jobs. Okay? That is from building, maintenance, and by the way, maintenance on coal and solar and PV and wind compared to mining and coal is actually almost equal. It's about 12,000 jobs. Now, the interesting part is, to build a coal-fired plant, you don't need that many people. So the comparison is 38 against 26,000 jobs. So I would like to call on all of those to move from the coal side into the renewable space, there is more jobs in that.
Widow, we're out of time. We're going to leave it there. Widow Shinavala, appreciate your time. Chairman of the South African Photovoltaic Industry Association. More reporting here on the news feed when we come back.